Okay, we're back. I will wait for everyone to find me again. Just figured it'd be easier to split it up into 3 videos, so it'd be like wash, dry, and then trimming. So Toby is very excited about his bath and blow dry so far, you can see. Actually, he's not. I think he cussed me a few times. But we're gonna go ahead and give him his pet trim. It's basically the same idea as the Bichon show trim. It's just shorter, easier maintenance. Still keeping the look of the breed, but just less hair. So he is an agility dog, so he likes to be a little tight. So he doesn't have all that hair, keeping him warm. We live in Florida. It's really hot here and gross. So we're gonna start by doing his prep work with our clipper. The mix spray, for whoever asked, I think you can get it directly from Artero's website. So you can definitely just pop on their website and order it from them. I think some of their distributors, like Pedigree, will have it, Frank Rowe. There's a couple different places you can shop for Artero products. So check them out. Support your local small businesses. So I'm going to start with his feet, and I'm going to use my adjustable clipper and scoop his feet out. So starting, no, it's hard to see from there, but I'm just gonna pick his foot up. I'm using a 40 blade, and I'm just gonna tap my trimmer kind of right under his toenails, and using, I don't know if you can see, I'm gonna put my pointer finger on this pad and my thumb on this pad, and I'm gonna push and kind of invert the foot so I can scoop all the hair out in the pad. And you don't wanna push the trimmer into the skin. You're just kind of skimming and scooping, but by kind of using your fingers to open the foot up, you can really get a nice clean foot and get that hair out of there. Just want to make sure that it's a nice, clean, tidy foot. Be careful not to scoop up on the heel too much. It's personal preference if you want to do a little bit. I usually don't. But you want to make sure you're not shaving up the back of that pad, because it'll make them look like they have little pointy toes in the front. All right, so just a nice little clean foot. I'm going to do the other one the same way. Feet are usually something that I do weekly, even when I'm just bathing the dogs for maintenance. Like, I don't know why, but hair in the feet really bothers me. So I tend to do my dog's feet in sanitary areas every week. If you don't want to scoop the hair out, you don't have to. You can just kind of like skim over the top of the pad. It's personal preference, but I usually like to keep mine pretty clean. All right. Front foot, same thing. You don't want to, again, don't pull this leg up super high, make it uncomfortable for the dog. Just kind of flip their foot up, keep within their comfortable range of motion. And again, I'm using my thumb and my forefinger to kind of grab the toenails and flip this foot inside out. Oops. So I can just scoop this hair out of the inside of the foot. And then just kind of tap under the toenails to make sure you get all that hair that's kind of under the toenails. This foot is always the hardest for me. I know it looks like I'm left-handed in the video, but I'm right-handed. And for whatever reason, shaving out the right front foot is just weird. All right, so nice, clean little foot, just like that. Toby likes to lick the inside of his feet here, so by removing some of this hair, it makes it easier to get the spray that we use on his feet up in there too. So, all right, now once the feet are done, I'll go ahead and do his nails. I like to use a Dremel. You can use a clipper if you want, but I like them smooth. And he's not showing anymore, but especially on the dogs that you're showing or your contest dogs, keeping the nails short is really important. It really can change the structure of the overall foot if the nails are too long. So keeping nails short, even on pet dogs, is important. So his are not too bad, but I'm just gonna go ahead and Dremel. And the way I Dremel is I have one hand holding, and I take the hand with the Dremel and I brace this thumb against my other thumb, and that way I never, ever, knock on wood, file my own nails. So I know a lot of people have trouble getting their nails themselves, but for whatever reason, doing it this way, I usually don't get my nails. But just brace one hand against the other and file the nails. And on the long-haired dogs too, you always want to make sure that you're pushing the hair back from the foot. So just try to keep that hair away from the Dremel because it can snag. And you can see I'm not pulling his foot away from his body. I'm not, tugging and pulling with him. I'm just lifting his foot into a comfortable position, not pulling it out really high. And on this side too, I'll even just flip the foot underneath. I know you can't really see, but I just, like a horse, just pick it up backwards. And this works really good on the dogs that want to pull and tug and fight you over getting their nails done. Just flip it underneath them, and sometimes that works a lot better. I know on that side, I pulled it out, but if they are one of those dogs that wants to pull and tug, you can go from this way and pick the foot up this way and pull it under like that. So just trying to keep it comfortable. I notice on a lot of our pet dogs, everyone's got a different style, but I'll notice sometimes one of my coworkers might be struggling, the dog's fighting, and they've got the foot out like this, and if we just try it this way, it stops. So sometimes it can be a pain issue, sometimes it can be an arthritis issue, sometimes it can just be the dog just doesn't like it. So just trying to switch up the way you do it and making it comfortable, sometimes it makes them a little bit more compliant. So nails are done. Now I'm going to go back to my clipper and do his sanitary area. I'm going to use this clipper on a 10 setting. And I'm just going to go ahead and clean out the hair around his rectum and kind of on the base of his tail on the back side. On the Bichons, and then on a lot of my pet dogs, like the Maltese and the Shih Tzus and things that I do at work, when they have these long flowy tails, I'll shave the back side up about an inch. Think of it sort of like you're shaving a poodle tail, but only on the back side. You don't want to go all the way around. So just shaving that. Who asked what? All right. And then to shave his groin, just again, gently pick up his leg, get his tail out of the way, and just shave all of his pieces and parts. On my dogs, I really like the testicles shaved clean. I don't like hairy coconuts. If you don't want to see them, you're welcome to leave hair, but I think it's distracting. I like them to be nice and trimmed and clean. Now these guys, I tend to bring the shaved area up a little higher than I might on some other dogs, but I like them to be nice and clean, so I'll even take my blade with the grain and just kind of skim off the hair on the underside of the dog. I know this looks terrifying, but it ends up good, I promise. So just skimming all this hair off the underside of the dog, and I sort of made him like a tummy tunnel, if you can see a little bit. So he just shaved with a 10 width from here down. But blade on the coconuts, I use a 10, so you can use whatever you're comfortable with. I usually do a 10, a 15 at the shortest. My own dogs, they get shaved weekly. They don't get sensitive skin or anything, so I can do a little bit tighter. But it just depends on the dog, so whatever works for you. All right, haircut time. So I'm gonna do a snap-on comb on his body because it's way easier and faster than scissoring. Doggy manscaping, yes. He likes to get the Brazilian. He doesn't like any hair. So I'm gonna use my fabulous Artero hit clipper, which is my favorite. It's a cordless clipper with interchangeable blades. I'm going to use a 15 blade under my snap-on combs. I'm going to do a 1 on him, which is a 1/2 inch or a 13 millimeter for those of you in Europe. And I'm just going to start right behind his withers and just put this body off. You can come down the shoulder. I'm just going to leave this kind of patch of neck hair here. You don't want to really dig in too much up on the neck, but you can go down around the rib cage. Down this top line. Use it to go over this point of rump. You can even reverse it if you want. Get in there. And then I'm just going to kind of skim off of his thighs. Straight down. You can pick up the leg a little bit to get in there, get the underline, scoop all that out. And don't go too far into this tuck-up area. Leave a little bit of hair there. His actual, if I was to take all this out, you'd see how really long it made him look. So just leave a little bit of hair right there to play with later. But just kind of come right around the back side of that rib cage down and flip that off. Same thing for the front. You can lift his head up, take all this hair off from his Adam's apple, just straight down his chest. You don't need to leave any hair there. All the way down between the front legs. And then just skim it right down the shoulder. Just kind of skim straight down to the table. Then I like to pick the leg up and get all that hair on the front of the chest between the front legs. Same thing the other side. It's allergies, I promise. You can use any length blade you want, really. You can use shorter, longer. You can use, a 4 blade, a 5 blade. The pattern is always the same. It's the length that changes, but it's the overall shape that doesn't. So this is very typical of what a lot of the clients in my salon get, because it still makes them look like show dogs without having all the show dog upkeep and hair. You can take this clipper right down the back of their thigh into the bend of the leg and float off the outside of the thigh to skim some of that hair down. You don't want to have big kind of like bloomers back here. You want to skim off the hip and blend all that in. On curly coats, it's perfectly okay to reverse it. If you want to go backwards to kind of even out the top line, not a big deal. It doesn't change the length too much if you reverse the clipper to smooth out your clipper work. I do this a lot on curly coats because even though I will still go over with my shears, this kind of helps smooth it out even more, so there's less scissor work to do. Pet grooming in general is all about, kind of saving time, minimizing the amount of time the dog is on the table. So little shortcuts that you can do like that just helps make everyone happier. And if you can get the dog done quicker and have a pretty result, then that's more dogs you can do in a day. That's more money you can make. So work smarter, not harder. What was that question there? Hang on just a minute. Let's see. What length would be acceptable for competition grooming? That is a tricky question because I typically do not recommend using a snap-on comb for a contest dog. Because we're grooming for show or for contest, the dog is not going to be one length on the whole body. It's going to be a little shorter here. It might be a little bit fuller here. So if you want to use a blade, I'd say just stick to using one on the top line. Maybe use like the yellow comb just to skim the top line, knock off some hair here, but I would scissor the rest. Because otherwise the dog is going to be too tight or just kind of not quite what you're looking for. So, all right. So we've knocked off the body with our one comb. If you're feeling frisky, you can take the next size shorter, which this one's a 2, and just tighten up the rear and the chest. because these are areas that would typically be tighter on a show or contest trim anyhow. So sometimes I'll take a shorter blade and just tighten up those areas. Tighten up a little bit on the chest here. And tighten up the chest and the throat. And again, that's a blade that you can flip and go reverse if you want. And you can kind of notch into that foreleg just a little bit with your clipper. Just kind of come through the chest and then just make a little notch right there, because that's going to help set his forelegs under the dog and expose his chest. You don't want the legs to look like they're coming right off the front of the dog. So when you're using this clipper, you can just kind of scoop into that foreleg just a little bit and create that little definition. Even though we're doing a pet trim, we still want him to look like his breed as closely as possible. So you can do all the same little tricks you use on a show dog or contest dog and apply them to your pet dogs. And your clients may not know what you did, but they know that it looks really nice, and they'll keep coming back to you. Okay. Now at this point, you can choose to scissor the legs, or if you're doing a pet dog in the salon, I typically use a snap-on comb on the legs too. You can use this to kind of knock hair off. You can use any length. I like these really big combs from Oster. They go a couple sizes bigger than the wall type combs. These ones are really big. Or this one is really awesome for like doodles or standard poodles, but typically I'll try the yellow one first, and if that's not taking a lot off, I'll try this one. So we'll try, I don't even know what size this is. This is a 38 millimeter or a 1.5 inch. So we'll try this one. So if you've got a lot of hair on the legs, just try knocking it off with these. This one's not, well, I'll take a little bit off. All right. So you can use the comb down the leg, knock some of that hair off. This one's pretty good. I don't want his legs to be too short, so we'll stick with this one. But this is a really easy way to get length off of the dog, make all the legs uniform, and then you just have to neaten it up with scissors afterwards. Like I said, you could go shorter if you wanted to. They don't have to be this long, but I like them to have a little bit of fluff there. So just knock off that length. Okay. So once we've knocked off the length with our comb, then we can start with our scissors. I like to use about 83 different pairs of shears on one dog. I know I have a problem. But generally I'll start, same thing, you can see I have a system. I always start with the back right leg. So again, we're gonna start at the back right leg and start shaping in the feet. So just taking off any hair that falls over the foot. You don't want to really make it too small and tiny. You're just kind of getting any hair that's coming over your foot. Once that is cleaned off, just have him stand on it and start shaping the foot in. You can use whatever kind of shears you want. I don't care. It's whatever gets the job done. Start at the toe. Find where that toenail is and cut that hair right up to the toe. And I love using the snap-on combs on the legs because at this point it's basically just neatening up the hair, not really putting a big shape in. So I tend to go for like my blending shears at this point, or you know, chunkers, whatever you like, and just smooth the hair. Not really focusing on taking a lot of length off because that's what our guard comb did. I'm just cleaning up all the fuzzies. once you get into the hang of it, you can do these types of haircuts all day long on client dogs, because this same type of pattern kind of applies to several different breeds for pet grooming. You can do the same kind of pattern on, your Shih Tzus, your Maltese, poodles even. It's the same principles when it comes to dogs in your salon. So if you get in the habit of doing everything in a certain order, a certain way, it just becomes natural, and then before you know it, you're done. So I love blenders and thinners for grooming in general. I know some people don't, but I am obsessed. So I'm just cleaning up, using my comb to drag this hair up. A lot of people ask me how to get a really good scissor finish on dogs. And it really depends. I see a lot of people use their comb to pick up the hair this way. That's okay. But for me, what I found, the thing that really helps to get a really good scissor finish is taking your comb and dragging the hair up and out. So I'm taking one of these fine teeth combs and I'm just kind of pulling the hair up, out, and then when I scissor, I tend to, when I'm trying to put a finish on the dog, I like to scissor up against the growth of the hair. And just keep your hands steady. You don't want to jab. You just want to take your shear and float across the surface of the hair. And just neaten up your lines. So to get a really good finish, that's how I do it. A lot can depend on your shear. I mean, there's different types of edges in your shears. There's serration, there's no serration. It's just a matter of finding that kind of perfect combination that works for you between your tools, your technique, and your prep work. So, but yeah, that's how I get a really good finish. I just drag the hair up. I drag it, backwards. You want to comb it different directions to make sure that it's smooth no matter which way you're combing it. Comb it down, check the foot area. Make sure that when the dog starts moving, that hair is not going to fall and pool around the foot. So once you do that a couple times and you pick it up, you should get that perfect plush finish on the hair. What chunkers am I using? I have 53 different kinds. The kind that I have with me today are these guys, inexpensive, kind of junky junk fun shears. I am obsessed with this type of blender. They're 43 teeth. This one's Artero, this one's Olga Zabelinskaya's. They're similar in the fact that they have kind of not really fine teeth, but not really thick teeth. And they're super awesome for going over coats. A lot of people might not think about using this type of shear on a curly coat, but they are magic. They really help get a really nice, sharp, crisp finish on curly type coats. And if I only had to pick one shear to groom an entire dog with, it would be this one. This is the kind of shear that I find myself using the most. How would I contrast the pattern of Bichon, thighs and shoulders, with a typical, it's really similar to a terrier pattern if you think about it. When I'm clipping the dog in, I'm clipping down to the shoulder. So just imagine for a minute this is a schnauzer. I'd clip to the shoulder, same thing, I clipped and then I skim down the leg. And then I take the snap-on comb and I come off almost in that pattern, that schnauzer-like pattern. So it's the same exact idea as doing like a schnauzer terrier type trim when I'm using those snap-on combs. You don't want to leave big poofy hips or thighs on them, or hips or shoulders, I mean. So same idea. That's what I said, like pretty much this type of haircut fits so many different breeds when it comes to your pet trimming that you can really just kind of get in that flow and not really have to think about it too much. All right, so that back leg, it's not too bad. Go ahead and clean up this rear here. And even though we're doing pet trimming, we still want to make sure that we give them parallel lines. So when I'm standing behind the dog, I want to see a nice parallel line from his hip down to the ground that's mirrored perpendicular on the inside of the leg. So I don't want to give them bell bottoms or little pinched feet. I want it to be a nice parallel line all the way down to the ground. And I'll turn them around after I'm done to show you what I mean. Especially when you're doing pet trimming, my motto is less is more. So the more hair that you can trim out in various areas, the more low maintenance it will be. Less hair to get matted, less hair to get dirty or bringing in stuff from the yard. So less is more. You can still make a really pretty, attractive pet trim and not leave a ton of hair. So even if these legs were shorter, it would still look nice if you just follow, you know, the parallel line idea, the showing off the little angulation. Okay. And then again, you can comb up. And I'll turn him so we can look at what I just did back here. Again, if you're working on an intact male, just be really careful to pull his testicles out of the way so you're not pinching them when you're scissoring back here. We have such glamorous jobs as dog groomers. We get to do all sorts of fun stuff all day long. Okay, so I've trimmed his back leg, I don't know if you can see, to have a nice parallel line inside and out. It's not really long, it's not really fluffy leg, but it's still an attractive shape. You don't want it to have any weird sticky parts anywhere. So just a nice clean parallel line all the way down. How long would it take me to do this type of dog from back to finish? I could do it in an hour or less. Probably an hour though. I'd give myself about an hour if I was doing one dog start to finish. Typically in our salon we do like a staggered. So we'll wash and dry one dog, we'll give them a break, they go sit, look out the window while we wash and dry the next dog. Then the first dog gets finished and like that. So we like to give the dogs breaks in between if we can. So, all right, so that's the back leg. Same idea for the front one. So trim the front of the foot. Let me fix this little area. So that little bit of hair we left in his groin, I'm just gonna blend that in to make a more attractive shape. So even though we're doing a pet trim, I still want to leave that little bit of hair in the tuck up. I still want to leave a little bit of neck just to give it that overall impression of being a Bichon and maintaining the proportions when possible. And like I said, I typically just kind of go back over where I've used the guard comb to smooth up the hair and just take off the very tips just so it's nice and smooth. Doesn't take a long time, but it does look a lot nicer if you just finish off with scissors. I never leave anything just like clipped. I always go over it with scissors. Okay, front foot. Okay, so I know it looks like I'm left-handed. I'm not. The video is reversed, so it looks like I'm left-handed, but I am right-handed, so these are right-hand shears. Okay, front foot. Same thing as the back foot. Comb all the hair down, make sure there's no knots in his toes in between, and just trim off all the hair that comes over the pad. And then you can let him stand on it on the table, comb all this hair down. And then if you don't want to use your curves, you can go back to like your blenders. And this is really fun. You just use your blenders to go around and trim off all the hair on the foot. Or you can use curves or straights or whatever makes you happy. It doesn't really matter how you get there. There's no wrong or right, just use whatever is comfortable for you. Elliot is trying to chase lizards. She can see them through the window and she's going crazy. All right, so just cleaning up this foot. Make sure there's no hairs hanging over. All right, what was the question? Does the crest on a Bichon and show competition coats start just behind the withers or further back? That all depends on the individual dog. For the most part, it's going to start in that general area just behind the withers, but you don't want it to start really far back. It just depends on the dog and the balance, but we'll talk about that in just a second when I get to his neck part. I see something. Uh-oh. Hang on, guys. Camera down. We have really quality setup here. Uh-oh. We're working with really awesome equipment, so. Why did this fall? Why is it doing this? Camera down. I haven't been drinking yet, I promise. That comes later. Well, hang on. Okay, we'll just go with it. It's a little crooked, but it'll be fine. Okay, someone asked how old the dog is. He is, how old's Toby? 5, 6? Yeah. 6? He's 6. All right, he's 6. Okay, back to feet. This camera's killing me. It's crooked now. Why is it crooked? Can't work in these conditions. It's home grooming, quarantine grooming. Okay, this thing is determined to make everyone motion sick. I'm really sorry. What did I do? All right, this is a good time to go to the bathroom, get a drink, get a snack. I'm a diva, thanks. Where did I get the stand dryer again? I got it from pedigree.com. The awesome people over there. They will hook you up. Aha, here we go. If I can only figure out how to tip the camera again, we'll be all right. Yeah. There we go, look at that. Okay. All right, where were we? So back to rounding his feet. Just comb all that hair down and just keep cleaning it up. Make sure that it's a nice, soft, little rounded foot. All right, can I post a list of all items? Yes, when I'm done, I'll post a list of all the stuff that I used in the video in case anybody wants to go shopping. Okay, so I rounded my foot, and now I'm just gonna comb all the hair up. Comb it all up, like this, and then just scissor it in a nice parallel line all the way down. So if you want to go this way, you can do that. If you want to go this way, that's fine. Like I said, I don't really care how a person does it, as long as the end result is the same. So when I was learning, everyone was like, never, ever, ever scissor horizontally. And now it's pretty much the only way I like to do it. Oh, my dad's here. Ashley, you need to buy better equipment, Dad says. Dad said you need to buy me better equipment. Oh, she said she can't afford it because she's supporting me now. Supporting my grooming habit. All right, go back to work. Okay, bye, have a meeting. Ashley thinks she's important because she still has a job. She can work from home. Ooh. So I'm just shaping this leg in. Since we already took off most of our length with our snap-on comb, just kneading it up, making it into that kind of nice cylinder, and he's super cooperative. Stand. And I would just like to let the dog stand on the foot when I'm shaping the leg, and then to neaten it up afterwards, I'll pick up the foot and actually shape it that way. But then if you try to knock off a lot of length, having the foot up in the air, then it can really change the shape when you put it back down. So you want to really be careful how you do that. I like to lift up the opposite leg to get the inside. And I'm just going for little, again, parallel lines. Make sure he doesn't look like he's got big elbows sticking out or bell bottoms or anything like that. And then make sure that you're combing the hair out from the elbow area, because this is a spot that a lot of hair likes to hide. See, there's a big chunk hanging out there. So just comb it up. I like to stick my shear right behind the elbow, put that blade right behind the elbow and just trim it off. No elbows for us. I don't really like to see any like definition of an elbow on any breed, like Poodle, Bichon, anything like that. You want it to be a nice, smooth transition from shoulder into leg. You don't want to see a big, like a cut in here like this that makes that elbow kind of stick out. It should be one cohesive piece on either your show dog or your pet trims. The only exception, of course, would be if you have to like shave out the armpits a lot, if they have a lot of mats or something like that. But for the most part, you want this leg to be sitting tight under the dog so that you don't see a big elbow definition. Do I prefer scissors or thinners over scissors when doing legs? I like everything. I do tend to find myself picking up my blenders and my chunkers more, but I use a combination of different shears on legs. So I can't really say one or the other because it takes me about 10 different pairs of shears to groom one dog, I feel like. So I'll use my blenders or my chunkers to knock the shape in, because I feel it's really easy to work with this kind of shear to knock hair off, get your shape in. And then if I'm really going for like a show or a contest groom, I'll go back over with straights to really put a really sharp finish on the hair. But if I'm just doing like pet grooming or whatever, this is usually my go-to tool because I feel like I can work quicker and get a really nice result just using blenders. So we'll turn in a little bit to the front now if you'll cooperate here. Stand. So we're trying to make this little parallel line here. So you can see I need to take off more on the inside and the elbow. So even on pet dogs, I still want to have the same proportions as show trimming. It's really hard to see what I'm doing when I try not to keep my giant head in the way of the camera. Okay, let's see. So a little bit more needs to come off through here to get that nice straight leg. So you can see I haven't pulled this leg up at all so far to trim, and he's popping his elbow out, so it looks like he's elbowing out right now. But when he stands on it, now you can see we have this nice straight leg that comes right off of his shoulder. Doesn't have bell bottoms. A nice tight little leg. At this point, you can now pick up the leg so we can check the armpits. When doing the armpits, you just want to hold the leg out slightly. Take your shears and point the tip kind of right into the center of the chest. So just pointing this way and cleaning out any little armpit hairs. If you point into the armpit and trim into the armpit, when you put it down, you're gonna have like a keyhole shape in the chest, which for this breed is not necessarily appropriate. If you're doing, I think, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Bedlingtons, you can do that, and that's okay. Or if you have, like I said, a pet dog that has really bad armpits that you shave out, it's kind of unavoidable to get that keyhole. But for the most part, just aim that shear right towards the center of the chest, and then you'll avoid getting that kind of hollowed out piece. Okay. So you can see now that he has this little cute little leg. Super easy. A lot of it is just neatening up the scissor work since I've already knocked off the length with the clipper. So you can see the difference in the two legs. So we're just gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'll just move my grooming arm to the other side here. He doesn't really need one, but just to keep him kind of steady, I'll use one. It's really nice, especially if you have your own dogs, to table train them from a young age, because obviously on pet dogs you want to be really careful. Always, you know, keep them on a loop, keep one hand on them. But for dogs that are going to be at shows and stuff, it's really nice to teach them to be comfortable on a table since they're going to spend a lot of time up there. So my particular dogs will just, you put them on a table, they'll lay down and sleep. They're super comfortable on the table. So the more you can work with them, the easier it's going to be. So if you have your own dog, you can table train them. It's awesome. What, Dad? My governor just ordered a stay-at-home order. Well, it's about time. Do I have any tips for the front legs on Bichons that don't have great structure? That's a good question from Megan. So if they don't have great structure, which, you know, no dog is perfect. All dogs have faults and flaws. She's asking if a dog has the kind of legs that kind of go like this, or, you know, they don't have the best conformation. You can still hide it. So the idea is still the same. So if he had, say his elbow stuck out and he had a big bend, you would still trim that leg as if it was straight. So it's kind of tricking the eye. You can't make the physical leg straight, obviously, but you can trick the eye by the way you trim the hair. So you're still gonna trim straight down from that shoulder. You're gonna be trimming tighter to the outside of the foot because those toenails go out to the side. So you're gonna be trimming where those toenails point out shorter. But you're still gonna try to create the look of a straight leg. And so we do that a lot. I have so many Shih Tzu clients and things like that. They have those really gnarly, curvy legs. So even though it's a pet dog, I still try to correct that curve to some degree. And the clients don't necessarily understand what it is that I did, but they just see the dog and they're like, oh my gosh, that's the best he's ever looked, and they don't know. So just getting in the habit of always trying to correct physical problems on any sort of dog. It's not only good practice for you, but it makes your clients, you know, appreciate it more too. Like I said, they don't necessarily understand what it is you did, but they know it looks awesome. So they're gonna keep coming back. All right, back to a split. So, back to, someone asked what kind of table and arm this is. I'm not sure, they're Ashley's. This one looks like it's a pet edge table, and this arm is probably older than I am, so I have no idea. It's really tall because I have it up on bed risers because I'm very tall. So it's all about making it comfortable. I'm very tall, so I need a really tall table, and I don't have my really awesome Schirmbaugh table here. I just have this, so we made it work. Okay, back to the split. So same thing we've already been doing, trimming off all this hair. And again, I can't stress it enough to make this comfortable for the dog. Not jerking his leg out really far, just kind of get him to shift his weight over and then bend that foot up. You don't want to pull. And this is really important too. I have a lot of clients that are old, they're a little cranky, arthritic, and they'll come to me and say the old groomer said he bites for everything, and it's not necessarily an aggression issue, it's a discomfort issue. So the dog is very stiff, arthritic, and if you just pick up a leg and yank on it, yes, they're going to be very upset and, you know, might try to bite you. But if you just try to work within the range of their comfort, it makes things a lot nicer on both you and the dog. And that's one of the big things, aside from prep work, that I always try to stress when I teach is just make it comfortable for the dog. You see a lot of videos where people are just like jerking legs up or out to the side, and the dog is fighting and like, oh, he's being bad. Well, he's not being bad, it's just not comfortable. So, off my soapbox. Back to grooming. So again, we're gonna comb all that hair down, just find his toenail. You can use straights, curves, blenders, whatever. just round that foot, starting at the shortest point, which is going to be the toenail. Go all the way around. And then a lot of times when I get to the heel, I'll just pick up the foot a little bit. And then to shape it, just fluff everything up, give it a good comb upwards. If you can get them to stand with their feet, their legs perpendicular underneath them, it makes it a lot easier. So if you see me just kind of gently lifting him by his jaw, that's just to get his legs to go under. And then from there, I'm coming straight off of his shoulder, straight down, to trim his legs in. Keep fluffing up. This method works really good on a lot of other breeds too, like poodles, anything that's curly coated. If you're just really trying hard to get a good finish, that is the way that I have the most success doing it. Excuse me. That's Elliot. She has Tourette's. She can't help it. So just working down, and then same thing on the front. And that little notch we talked about when we were clipping in with the clipper. So a lot of people think that in order to create this chest on a dog that they need to leave a lot of excess hair on the front of the dog. So the way to define the chest without leaving all the hair is to actually cut in at the bend of the foreleg to define the chest and not build up a bunch of hair. So by cutting in, following the shape of the dog's natural anatomy, and then cutting into the foreleg, you define that chest without leaving gobs of hair up here. Because the more hair we leave, the more chances you have of that being matted. So less is more, especially in pet trimming. Just take away the hair that we don't need, so there's less hair to be brushed and less hair to get matted, and then less hair to shave off. I'm gonna do his armpit. Same thing, I'm aiming my tip of my shear to the center of his chest when I'm trimming that in. Get off all that stuff that pops out into there while you've got his leg up in the air. He really wants to lay down. He's very upset. Heading into his nap time. And if you want, you can use curves or straights or whatever. For legs, I really love using like super curve shears. They have a really nice hard curve to them because it kind of is the perfect shape if you're scissoring in this fashion to kind of wrap around the back of that leg. You can use straights. I mean, it's whatever feels comfortable to you, but I think we're super fortunate that we have just so many awesome products and tools to choose from compared to even, I think, 10 years ago. There's so many really innovative and really awesome stuff coming out for us to play with. So there's no right or wrong tool. It's whatever you like, whatever gets the job done. I know someone that will only use straight scissors on the entire dog and it looks beautiful. I know someone that only likes curves. And then there's people like me that need 43 different shears on one dog, so. Great. You are being a little lazy butt. So just keep fluffing until you're happy with the shape, going for those parallel lines. Make sure that both legs match. Which these don't at the moment. How is everyone doing? How many people are on lockdown at home with nothing to do besides watch paint dry and me drum a Bichon? All right, Alright, so I'm just going to keep dragging this hair up, dragging it around, just checking my lines, making sure everything is nice and uniform and tidy. And if you have the time, you can always come back later and nitpick the scissoring so it's perfect. I'm really bad about that. I want to sit there and nitpick and nitpick and nitpick. But if you're in a time crunch or you're struggling with managing your time on a dog, I like to tell people to just get around the dog one time, knock in the shape. Don't really necessarily worry too much about the perfect finish. You just want to kind of block the shape into the dog. And then you can do a second time around where you start to really refine areas, start to clean up your scissor work, really kind of tweak your pattern, your overall shape. And then do a third pass. And your third pass is going to be when you're really putting that super smooth finish on the dog. So if you're having trouble with time management, especially if you want to do grooming competitions or even just improve your time in the salon, set a timer and then just give yourself, however many minutes to get that first pass done, your second, and then your finish. So that way you don't make the mistake like I did on some of my first grooming competitions where I spend like the first hour grooming one leg and then I have the rest of the time to try to finish the entire dog. Okay, so we have two cute front legs there. Get that elbow off. Okay, now to his rear leg. And I always see little fuzzies depending on where I'm standing that I might have missed. So sometimes I'll see a hair somewhere else and have to nip it really quick. But you want to look at the dog from every angle so that you make sure that there's nothing weird popping out, because when you're standing on top of the dog, it might look great, but then you stand back or you move to another area and you see that there's hair sticking out. So you want to make sure that you're just viewing the dog from different areas, changing your perspective. Okay, last foot. You're being a good boy. Yeah. Oh, good boy, you are. Okay. Same thing, the back foot. Just lift it up gently. See if I can come this way. Gently lift up the back foot. Comb through all the toes. This is something that contest groomers have nightmares about, because I think at one point all of us have had that dreaded toe knot or toe snag, and then we get PTSD about it. See, I saw some hair that I had to grab on the front leg. So, okay, same idea what we did on all three of the other legs. Just let him stand, comb down all that hair, find his toenail, and trim up to the toe. And then all the way around. Make sure there's no hair pooling or dragging on the table. If you need to pick the foot back up, you can. Get his tail out of the way. He's got the biggest, fluffiest tail. Okay, so once your foot's blocked in, just fluff up the rest of the coat. All the way around. And then let's move you here a little bit, buddy. And then we're just going to clean up all this hair that we've already clipped off with our snap-on combs. Just following the shape of the dog's body. The rear can be very tight. You don't want to leave a lot of hair back here on pretty much any version of the Bichon trim. This will be a really tight area. And then to trim the back of his thigh, he is intact. So just be careful, just slide a finger, pull the testicles out of the way so you don't pinch them, and just clean up the back of the thigh. Make sure you get all that little hair out of there. And then I like to work from behind the dog so I can see. just making a straight line down to the ground. So I like to come over the dog like this, point the tip of the shears to the ground, and knock in a nice straight line from his hip down to the table. Use your comb, pick up the hair. Now we're going to blend in the back of the thigh to his hock area. This is the tightest point of our leg, is the bend of that leg. So tighten it up really good, right to the skin in the bend of the leg here. And then start blending it into the longer hair of the hock. And you don't have to leave big hocks. If you're just doing a pet trim, they can still be fairly short and still show the shape of the dog. So you don't have to cut them off really straight or anything, just to still have a little bit of fanciness to them. So it's not really difficult, it's just kind of following the shape of the dog's body and neatening up all the hair. Elliot. Same thing on the inside, just making sure my outside line matches my inside line. And this is a really good area too. Let me see if I can turn it. Someone asked about the front legs, what do you do if the dog has got really curvy front legs? Same thing with the rear. So if you have a dog that is cow hocked, which is where the hocks turn in and the toes point out, so they're kind of like standing like that in the back, you can visually correct that by the way you trim the dog. So if you had a dog that was cow hocked, what you would do is you would take more off on the inside of this hock here, where the hock physically, if his leg went this way, so the hock would be pointing in that way and his toes would be pointing out this way. To correct that, what you would do is just trim this area tighter, make a nice straight line, from thigh all the way down, and then you trim out the toe area on this side tighter. So you're kind of taking the hair and visually straightening it out. Obviously you can't physically fix it, but you can trick the eye into seeing a nice straight leg, even though he might be very cow hocked. And because this is a pet trim, again, we're not leaving tons of hair. We're making it so it's short and manageable for the owners to maintain while still keeping that Bichon shape. They can still have a little style and be short. And because this dog is a performance dog, he does agility and he's really good at it. He still likes to look really fancy and pretty while he goes out and does all of his sports. But this way it's not so much hair, so he's not as hot. And it's easier to throw him in the tub when she gets home and wash all the clay and dirt off. So I just keep combing the hair up and out and then straightening with my shears. Just a big chunk there. And you can see on the rear of this dog, there is basically no hair here. It's very, very short. And he's got a really cute little butt.
Speedo cut?
Yep. Ashley calls this the Speedo cut because it looks like he's wearing a Speedo.
It makes you run fast.
It makes him run fast. And then if you want, at the very end, you can pick that leg up. What?
You're gonna clean my floor?
You're gonna clean your floor. Oh, you're interrupting my video, Ashley.
Sorry.
Please leave. Gosh, it's like it's your house or something. Okay. So like I was saying, if you'll cooperate, you saw Ashley. You can pick up this rear foot gently, comb out the inside, and you can see I missed a bunch of hair up there, and just lightly tip out any little stray hairs that you might have missed. Okay. Eli's sleeping. And then we're just going to clean up the front of this leg. Clean up that tuck up. I clearly did not brush that area out very good. I'm fired. And just smoothing all the hair through the tuck up. And now if you want, you can also stand this dog up and comb the hair through the loin and the tuck up and kind of scissor it in this way. It's whatever is most comfortable for you. I generally trim in the hair where I want it, and then at the end I lift the dog up like this and I drag a comb through and check that there's no big wads of hair sticking in here. And just trim out everything so it's nice and even and smooth. And then I want to make sure that I'm blending in that short spot that we shaved out earlier with the 10 blade on this underline. We're just gonna make sure that's blending in everywhere. And then one last fluff. Like I said, you can sit here and nitpick for hours if you want, but sometimes you gotta know when to say it's good enough and move on, which is something that I struggle with. Okay, and like I said, we can come back later and revisit our scissoring, tighten it up later. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started on his face. Maybe. Okay. So now, for his head, this is the part that everyone hates because it can be so tricky. We're gonna do some tricks. Maybe. I'm gonna do set the length of the snap-on comb, and I'm gonna try this really big long guy first. That is the 2-inch comb from Oster. I think it's the biggest one that I know of. And we'll see if it'll take any hair off. And if not, we'll try the shorter one. Okay. So I'm just gonna make sure his head is all fluffed and combed. And his neck all the way down the back. This is gonna look really scary. I'm gonna shave his head off. Is that okay? Oh, hang on. Moses is coming in this door. Stay. Come on, Moses. Okay.
You're gonna shave his head off?
Yep. Fuzz it right off. Mohawk.
He'll grow back.
Okay. So I'm gonna take this long comb. And it's not really gonna take a lot of length off up here. But I'm just gonna run this over the whole top of his head. It's gonna look slightly terrible for a minute. Don't be alarmed. Run it down the ears. Calm down, Ashley. This is a pet head. It's not taking a lot of length off. It's just gonna knock some of the length off for us. You can go different directions with it. Side to side, front to back, over the ears. All right. So it didn't take a lot of length off, but it took enough off to where we're not going to be struggling through so much coat. If you want a tighter head, you can absolutely do a shorter comb, but sometimes I know a lot of people struggle with the pets not knowing how much to take off, how much to leave. And if we're doing a snap-on comb trim of the body, and you have those longer combs available, it just makes sense to knock off some of the length with a longer comb. So, starting with the eyes, I'm going to take my clipper again, my adjustable clipper. I'm going to use a 30, but you can use a 15 or a 10, whatever makes you happy. And I'm just going to scoop out the stop area right between his eyes, corner to corner. You don't really want to dig into the sides of the eyes too much, just straight across. And then I also skim over the eye with the blade. Not everyone likes this. You don't have to do it if it doesn't make you comfortable, but I like to skim over the eye, and he'll close it for you, just to open up those eyes and get all that hair that hangs over the eyes to open up the expression. So I'm not pressing down, I'm just skimming. And then on him, I like to clean up the lip. So I'll take my 40 blade, make a circle, pull it over his lip, and I'm just shaving the top lip, the width of his nose. So just like that. So he's got a nice clean little lip. Once we've done that, now we can start shaping in the rest of his little pet face here. You want to make sure that you're not leaving it too long, especially if you've got the body really short, because then he's going to look like a bobblehead and really out of proportion. So starting over his eyes, just going to comb it forward and use curved shears over the eyes. And you want to make sure that you go past the outside eye corner. Really open that face up. The whole focal point of this dog's head is that you want the hair to frame the eyes. The eyes are the centerpiece of the Bichon face. So if you leave a lot of hair covering up those eyes, it really takes away from a beautiful expression. So just keep combing this stuff down on top and use your shears to make a nice soft U shape. You don't want to cut it straight back because then they'll look very shocked or angry or surprised. But just go past those eye corners. Sorry, I had a phone call. And just keep combing it down because you're gonna have to do this a couple times to get a really nice, crisp, clean line. That's the biggest part. Nice and clean. You don't want to have any stray hairs when you comb forward over the eyes. So if I'm judging a grooming contest and I take my comb and I pull the hair forward and there's all sorts of messy wet hairs over the eyes, that's a real Debbie Downer for me. I like this area especially to be really clean, really open, really crisp. And if I turn this dog to the side, there's not a whole lot of hair overhanging the eyes. He's got a really cute little short muzzle, and we're doing a pet trim, so we don't have to leave a ton of hair. So you don't have to leave that big exaggerated point over the eyes that makes them look really angry. You get the rounded shape by cutting into the eye corner that gives you that rounded shape without having to leave all the built up hair in front. So once that is all trimmed in, you can take thinners, maybe if he's got any stray hairs up on the bridge of his nose, go ahead and just hit those with a thinning shear, because again, we don't want hair sticking up, impeding the view of those eyes. The eyes should be nice, open, clear, and framed by this hair. Same thing for client dogs. You know, the owners are always looking down at the dog, they're always seeing the face. So you want to make that face nice and cute and really appealing. So it's really important just to clean out all that hair and make those eyes. You can see his eyes just pop now. So moving on, now we're gonna go ahead and comb all those hair down in his chin. I know I've done these Bichon head videos a bazillion times before and it's always the same, but we're making this one a little bit shorter, but the process is still the same. So hold his little nose, comb all this hair down, and then if you want, you can take curves and flip them backwards and kind of cut a little V or a U up at the Adam's apple. Just clear out that hair. anything that falls past the Adam's apple. You can clean all that up. And then drop it down, comb that hair down on his chin. And we'll just shorten this up a little bit. The length is set by combing that hair back and trimming it down. And then when you tip the head back, it should pretty much set that front of that beard in for you. You don't want to leave a lot of hair, especially on a pet trim, but you don't want to cut it so short that it looks really funny. So if you need to take more off later, you can always take more off. You just can't put it back. So just be conservative. If you're not sure how much beard to leave, just do a little by little. So my pet trims, I do a little bit different than my full show heads. I always say never, ever, ever pick up this ear to trim, which is true. But when I'm doing a pet trim sometimes, and I've used that snap-on comb on the top, sometimes I'll just pick up the ear and just gently, lightly neaten up the edge. Not a lot. I'm not cutting this stuff out in front. I'm just kind of picking up this ear and just shaping the end of the ear. And then I'll drop it down. I'll fluff up my head, and you can see the length is set pretty nice by that comb that we ran over it. So now I'm just gonna push his ear forward with my finger behind his ear, and you see somebody outside, so he's really helping me out here. And just knock off all that hair behind the ear, and then comb the hair out to the side, and just start from the beard, come all the way up, and just shape all that fuzzy stuff in. We set the length with our comb, and now we're just neatening it up. If you want to use blenders, this is a fantastic spot to do it. Comb that hair out from the side of the face. And you have to think of the head as a 3D shape. Just don't trim the outside and call it good. You have to kind of trim not only this way, but this way. So I'm still pushing his ear forward. I've got my finger behind his ear. So starting at the front edge of the face, softly kind of blend this whole edge of the ear back around into the jaw. You have to remember that this is a 3D shape. They should be rounded from any angle. So just working front to back around like this, blending in all that hair. Also, this muzzle hair on the front here, pull this down, and I've got his mouth I'm holding it shut so he doesn't stick his tongue out. But you can see there's this point on the front of this face. So I'm gonna go ahead and just soften that point up on the front of the face so that everything flows and is a circle all the way up from the muzzle through the ear to the top of the head. So like that. And we're gonna have to do a little tweaking, you always do, but that's the really cool part about using those long combs is you can kind of cheat on these pet guys to knock the shape in fairly easy. And then just keep fluffing, and if you need to neaten up little sticky outies, you can. But I'm not taking a lot of length off the top of the head, I'm just neatening it up. All the fuzz that popped out after we ran the guard comb over it. Okay, so that side is pretty close. Go to this side. And remember, for a show head, don't pick up this ear. And on our pet heads, I'm just gonna knock the very end of that off a little bit. And also this stuff behind his ear that I didn't get with the snap-on comb earlier when we were clipping the body. All right, comb all this to this side now. And I'm gonna use my thumb to push that ear forward on this side. Bless you. Comb all the hair out from behind the ear. Make sure that's all pulled forward. I'm pushing that ear forward with my thumb. And that way I've got a little bit of control. Some dogs will flick their ears, but if you keep your thumb there, that keeps the dog from moving that ear on you, so you have a little bit more control, and you can feel if that dog is gonna, flick his ear or do something else that might be a little not wise. All right, so I'm just taking the hair off behind this ear following the shape of the dog's jaw. So starting behind this ear and going around. By taking all this hair off behind this dog's ear, it's gonna separate his head from his neck and the rest of his body. It's gonna minimize how much hair is behind the ear to get matted. And it really just makes the dog look more elegant. It makes the neck look longer because you don't have all that hair kind of hanging out behind his ear there. So once you've got that line cleaned up here, go ahead and pull everything. I'm still pushing that ear forward, kind of out, up, and back. So just kind of pulling everything out. You can go above if you want or below, whatever's more comfortable. And then start shaping the front of that ear and muzzle into our circle. So you can see he's got a little bit of a point here. Easy, buddy. Just start rolling all of this back. Working all the way around the head, not just the edges. Comb everything forward, backwards, every direction. And make sure everything is smoothed into a nice rounded shape. You shouldn't see any weird corners or sticky outies no matter what direction you're combing the hair. Comb it back. And then, it's really hard when I'm not standing right in front of him to see. But I'm just gonna keep pushing all the hair forward with the comb. And where he is right now, he's being really helpful in pushing his head down. I can see behind the dog, I'm looking this way, and I can see all this hair that I can even up across the top of his head while he's pushing his head down like this. So this is another really useful thing when the dog wants to kind of push his head down, just work with it. Use that to look over the top of the dog's head and see where you need to smooth off. Because the more angles that you can look from, the better it is, because if you're just constantly looking from here, it might look great from here, but as soon as he turns his head, you're gonna see something that's popping out. So just always make sure you're looking from different angles to check your work. From there, go ahead, push all this hair back. And I have really big hands, so it's easy for me to stick my hands like this under the dog's jaw to push those ears forward. If you can't, if you have small hands, that's fine. You can do one side at a time. Or if you want to check your work, take both of your hands and push it up like this and look at it. But at this point, I'm just going to push everything kind of up and back, pick those ears up, and I'm just going to neaten my work and go all the way around the outside edge and smooth out any rough spots, anything that's uneven. You want to make sure that your symmetry is good. Going for that really rounded look. So just check. It's really helpful if you have a mirror. I like to work in front of a mirror when I'm at work because just sometimes changing your perspective can really highlight areas that need work. You can really check your balance, your symmetry. If you don't have a mirror, sometimes just taking a picture and looking at that can help. I can't tell you how many times that I've done what I thought was a terrific job, taking a picture, gonna put it on Facebook, and I'm like, ooh, what happened? So just check your work from different viewpoints. I find too that I really struggle with leaving this side of the dog's face longer, like right here. For whatever reason, it's always that side. I'm looking at it, I don't know if my eyeballs are on my face crooked, but it looks fine to me when I look at it like this. But if I turn the dog's face to the mirror and look at it in the mirror, I can see it. So I know that's my particular thing that I struggle with, so I know to pay extra attention to that particular area. Check it in the mirror, take a picture, do whatever I need to do, but for whatever reason, I don't know why, that area always seems to be a little bit longer sometimes if I'm not paying attention. So I'm just smoothing the edges now. You can see his little face is really cute. It's not really long. It's nice and manageable. But use your comb up his cheeks under the ear, comb from behind the ear. You're wanting to use your comb to drag every little hair out that might be hanging out somewhere. And just keep checking. Make sure that you've been really thorough with that comb, because the head is usually the focal point, especially on pet dogs, for the owner. I mean, the body, you want to do a good job, but spend most of your time making a cute head and expression, because when that dog is at home and he's looking up at his owner for a treat, that's the part that they're gonna be paying the most attention to, is that face and the expression. So want to make sure that that's done really well on any dog you do. Okay, the last part I do on pet heads, besides sitting here nitpicking for 2 hours, is the muzzle hair. This is personal preference, but on the muzzle hair, especially on pets, I like to pick up all this hair on the top of the muzzle and pull it all up. Pull all this hair up all the way around and pull everything kind of out of the lips. And I'll take blenders, and I like to just shape all this hair off the top, especially on my pet dogs, or like him. He does agility. He really needs to have unobstructed vision. So by combing this hair up and just smoothing it down with blenders, that helps him a lot too. And then I'll just use my blenders all the way around, blend in all that muzzle hair. Doesn't really change the look a whole lot, but it really keeps things a lot tidier, especially for your pet owners, or even, you know, on my own personal dog. I have a really old man, and I do that too, and I think it's really cute. And lastly, these little lip hairs, I like to just take those off so it's a nice clean look around his mouth. And now I'm just gonna clean up anything that's popping out that I see. Like I said, it's really hard to see what I'm doing when I can't stand in front of the dog, so I don't block the camera. So just keep working your way all around the dog. Keep your balance in mind. You don't want the bulk of the dog's hair to be on the bottom. You want the eyes to be the focal point of the dog's face, and a nice rounded shape built around that. All right, so that's pretty cute. He's looking pretty nice. So we've got his face done. It's not very long. We ran the guard comb over the top of it to knock a lot of that length off, but he still looks like a Bichon, even though he's got a little short head. It matches his body. So now we're just gonna connect his head to his body. We haven't done the neck yet, so this is the part where we just tie the two together. Okay, so now we're just gonna fluff up his neck, pull all that hair out from behind the ears, make sure everything's just kind of puffed out. And then starting from behind the ear, if you want to pull this ear forward and hold it, you can. Just go make sure that behind the jaw is cleaned out with the shape of that jaw like we talked about on the other side. Just come from under the jaw, up and around behind the ear. And then from there, blend all the way down through the shoulder. We're just blending the two areas into each other. So when you comb this ear, see, look, I just combed it and there was this little piece that stuck out. So you want to just make sure that you comb it 1,000 different ways, because there's always going to be hairs that pop out. And then if you have a dog that's really hairy and you don't know how much neck hair to leave, a really easy trick, since we already trimmed the top of the head, I did go down his neck with that guard comb, but this still applies. You can go ahead, tip his head all the way up, and push all the hair on the top of his head back. And then using the top of the head as your guide, you're gonna scissor from here down that neck. So top of the head as your guide, scissor down into the wither area to get that length off. And so what that does is, by doing that with his head tipped up in the air, once you tip his head down, it sets the whole back of the neck perfectly. It blends it right in, makes it a nice smooth piece. And so then all you have to do is just kind of neaten it up. And so now it's just a matter of cleaning things up, making sure everything's tidy. If it was up to me, I could groom each dog for like 4 hours because I always see stuff sticking out that bothers me, but sometimes you gotta know when to call it quits. Just cleaning up any little hair that comes out to the side. You can use your comb, pull the hair over to the side, and take off anything that comes over that line. Make sure the back of the ear is super clean. And then just fluff it up and check. I'm gonna go on this side. Little bump there. But overall, he's pretty much getting to the point where I'm gonna be happy with that. So as I'm wrapping up, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to holler now, or you can send me a message later or comment on the video. I'll try to answer everyone that asked questions that I didn't answer. But you can see that he still looks like a Bichon, has the Bichon shape. It's just a lot tighter all the way around. So this is a really good alternative for dogs that don't necessarily get brushed daily at home. They still want a little bit of style without all the upkeep. It's really good for dogs like Toby that are performance dogs that compete in stuff like agility or dock diving or obedience, that still want a little style but a little bit more practicality. Last bit is the tail. People always ask me, I don't trim my tails. You don't ever want a blunt end on the end of these tails. And his tail is kind of his crowning glory and he loves it. So unless the owner asks for it, I never trim the tail, just leave it natural. And all right, let's clean you up and take a look. Okay, so now we have our little pet trim. This is low maintenance. Still looks like a Bichon, still has a little bit of style to him, but not a whole lot of hair, easy to maintain. So here we go, turn around. So you can see it's pretty short, easy, manageable, and still really cute. So I hope nobody's asleep at this point. If you guys like it and you had a good time, you learned some stuff, if you want me to do more, apparently I'm gonna have a lot of free time. So if there's anything that I can help you guys with or show you or groom or anything, let me know and I'll see what I can do. But hope everyone enjoyed and you learned some stuff today. And here's our cute little model who is ready to go out in the Florida heat now. So thanks everyone for watching. And if you have any questions, like I said, just let me know. Thanks.